Hi there. Is it Deb or Deborah? Hi. Let's see. You're muted right now. I can unmute you, or I can ask you to unmute.
There we go. Hi. So are you not Juanetta?
I'm Juanita. Yeah.
Juanita.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see. We got some other folks coming in.
Woo, I just took a walk in the sun. I'm all
Ooh,
sweaty.
It's hot out. It's
Yeah, very hot.
Just feel like I'm cooking outside. Hi there.
Hello. Hi, I'm Angela.
Hi, Angela. Nice to meet you. I'm Juanita.
Juanita, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Angela.
Nice to meet you.
Do you go by Deb or Deborah? Interchangeable.
Deborah's fine.
Okay. Got another person joining us. We didn't know exactly how many folks we would have. I think at the most we're gonna have 10 people, but we had 8 folks in our in-person orientation yesterday down at the recycling center. On the other really hot day at like the peak time of the sun being right on top. I mean, we had set up a canopy, but it was really hard. Hi, Grace. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
So this is Erica.
Hi, Erica.
Hi. Nice to meet you all. I think we'll just wait maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. I think we have a couple more folks coming in, and then we will get started. So we really appreciate your time today and your interest in participating in the project and willingness to donate your time for this project. Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you. I think we're going to wait 1 more minute and then we will get started. I put together a PowerPoint presentation and it's 20 slides. So we're going to ask to hold questions until the end, unless it's like a clarifying question on whatever kind of slide that we're on. But our goal for today is to just orient you to what the task at hand is, a little bit more detail about kind of our goals around the project, and then showing you some of the, like we're going to use an app to do the data capture portion. So we just have a couple of images of that and kind of to show you what we're collecting. But it shouldn't be too bad. All right, I'm going to get started, and as folks join, we can just get them up to speed. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's see. Let's see, you're seeing like the prep screen, right? Where it shows like the 2 different.
It says
It's summer 2021 Curbside.
Oh, great. Okay. I think
Yeah.
I had it just on the wrong side. So that you're just seeing like 1 slide right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we don't have kind of a clever nickname for this project yet, but if anybody comes up with one, please let us know. We're really waiting for that to kind of come about. So I am going to first introduce Erica, or she can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Erica. I am Juanita's right-hand woman. I help her do education and outreach for our division. which is sustainable materials management. I'm the waste diversion coordinator, but really that's just me doing, like I said, the education and outreach for our division.
And enforcement.
And enforcement, which is a little bit of what we're doing now.
Yes, we're touching on enforcement with this project. So I'm Juanita Trabert. We're both in DPW. I'm the director of sustainable materials management. I manage all things trash, recycling, yard waste, household hazardous waste, the recycling center, and I report to the Commissioner of Public Works. And we wanted you guys to all introduce yourselves and maybe just say, the village that you live in or how many years you've lived in Newton, kind of just a little feel. I know everybody's screen is a little bit different. I will go just in order of what I see. Deborah.
Hi, my name is Deborah Roche. I live in West Newton.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sure.
Angela.
Hi, my name is Angela Yee, and I also live in West Newton. I've been here for about 9 years. I plan on having my son, who's in 5th grade, join me on this project. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great, thank you. Jeff.
Jeff Rems. I live on Ballard Street in Newton Center. Been here 30 years, and I'm an inveterate recycler. And so my wife told me about the program. I thought it sounded interesting, and I have a flexible schedule. So here I am.
Fantastic, thank you. And Grace.
I'm Grace Rokas. I also am in West Newton, and go West Newton. I've been here 25 years, I guess. And I'm psyched to do whatever I can to help energy conservation, earth,
Awesome. Thank you so much, all of you. We really, really appreciate it. So I include this in every presentation I give. It just gives folks a little bit of an orientation on what our division actually does and what our scope is within the city. So we provide residential service, including curbside collections, the permanent drop-off site, which is the Resource Recovery Center, which is where our office is based and where we're at right now. And we do provide some multifamily properties with service. They're actually properties that got grandfathered into receiving city service back when the city was providing service using their own trucks before it was contracted out. We provide service to all municipal buildings, city buildings, including public schools, various city operations. And that's not to say every construction project we have to deal with the waste that comes from those, but sometimes if a clean out of a building is happening, I'll arrange for a dumpster to get there or something. And then public spaces, so like the Big Belly program that you've seen around town. So Parks, Recreation, and Culture is actually responsible for picking that up, but the waste that they have comes here and we take care of getting it off site. So for both trash and recycling. And then we also in the city have nonprofit service using the curbside carts, and nonprofits can pay a fee to receive that service, and that's built into the city's ordinance. So that's just kind of an orientation of like the scope of what we cover. So for this project, it is primarily an education effort, but since we're going to be out at the curb, we're going to do some data gathering that will help us with some other efforts that we are in the middle of. So our education effort is going to be applying these decals. So that's actually an image of what the decal looks like. This is based off of a template from the state, and there's a campaign called Recycle Smart. If you go to recyclesmartma.org, they have a lot of different materials. It's a statewide initiative to try and make education in the state more uniform for recycling, and Newton adopted that in 2018, and we've really been trying to use a lot of their materials, and they provide all of the materials and images and things for free. And even the translation for this was also just included in the materials that they provide. So I would say it's been kind of tested by the state, and then we're just adopting that model. And we know that they did some focus group work and some work with like a marketing agency to try and make the messaging as effective as possible for the broadest swath of people possible, which who knows what that actually means. I mean, the message always needs to be tailored to different people for different issues, different things. But so this was what we, that was how we came about with this design and the images and the language that were used. It was really based on the state's research. For the data collection effort, we will be using our app. For those of you that don't know, Newton has a recycling app. It's called Recycle Right Newton. It provides like a trash day reminder calendar. It has a search tool for different materials that you can enter in to find out if something should go in the recycling or the trash. And then it also has a game, like a sorting game that you can play and find out where some kind of materials that often confuse people should go.
Mhm.
And so there's actually a staff login for this app, and you guys will all get staff logins and go into it's called the audit tool. And we're going to go over that in just a minute. And I would say for the most part, this is not meant to be an enforcement effort. In 2018, 3 years ago, we went out to the curb and we did a very robust enforcement effort. I mean, I would still say that was primarily educational, but we went to the same places week after week to try and do long-term behavior change. And this time around, the goal is to hit every house one time and adhere the sticker, gather the data, and we will, so I say sticker and decal pretty interchangeably, and then there's two separate stickers, and we're gonna get to the other one, but there's an enforcement sticker. It's like a yellow tag. You may have seen it on some carts that were having some problems, but we're gonna go over that in just a minute. So the goals of this project are to apply decals to all recycling carts, and that's really in an effort to reduce contamination. We are collecting data, and I would say that's kind of secondary to the sticker. The data will feed into a project that we're doing that's much wider. We're working with Mass DEP on, they call it a technical assistance grant. They're providing in-kind assistance, which just means like no money is changing hands, but they're giving us 80 hours of staff time to do an analysis of our curbside services. And a year from now, a report will be generated. I will be writing the report that will have recommendations for the direction of where Newton City services, like curbside services, should go or could go, and what are economically feasible options. Our main goals with that project are to really reduce the amount of trash that's generated and really identify and be paying attention to our long-term costs for managing our waste and our recycling, because those have continued to rise. And in the next 10 to 15 years, it's expected to really get kind of dire in Massachusetts. We are literally running out of space for our trash to go. And so it's just going to lead to a higher and higher price tag for managing that. So the types of data that we're going to gather are the volume, how full both the trash and the recycling cart are, contamination, the condition of the carts, because that also is a factor in the cost of a change in the program. And so these data points are going to feed into the recommendations that are developed and things that different policy mechanisms that we investigate. So at the curb, or like really like a shift for this project, like our goal is just to have folks have one day that they are coming out. Certainly we'll take you if you want more time than that. But I would say that's just our, realistic expectation. It's like 3 hours a week. We're setting 5 designated areas so like the city is divided into 5 trash days, like geographically. And so Erica will inform the folks that are on each assigned day where the designated area is to meet. And really what that's going to do is it's kind of like a check-in time, and it could be like, hey, we heard this other group had this issue, so we're just going to change some little tweak to the system or something like that. But it's really kind of a checkpoint for our volunteers to, I mean, essentially show up. I mean, you guys are donating your time. We really, really appreciate that. And it's entirely possible or likely that folks may not come on a day that we were expecting them. So we're just kind of meeting in the designated area. There, Erica will provide you all with the neighborhood that we're going to be in that day. And then depending on how far that is from our designated area, we may drive to a neighborhood, like to that neighborhood from the designated area. And then we're going to grab supplies out of the city car. Erica will be driving the city car, and we're going to go over what the supplies are in just a second. Then we're going to start the route, and I'll go over that in a little greater detail. And then at around 9:45, you can head back to where the city car was parked and drop off the supplies. And then if you drove your car over there, then you're free to go and go about your day. And you've been super productive, and it's only 9:45. So the supplies include, we got these wagons. They're just kind of like little utility wagons. Is that easy enough? I don't know with the camera if we can do that. We would show it, but I mean, it's not like a red metal wagon, but it's like one that actually, it's kind of cute. It like folds up, and it's pretty easy to maneuver around. I'm pretty impressed with the quality of what Home Depot sent us. And inside of the wagon, you'll put, well, you guys will put on your yellow vests. You can proudly don Newton DPW yellow vests. And so then there will be a big stack of these decals. We actually don't even have them from the printer yet. We're expecting them by the end of this week. But so because we're going to have so many, there's, like it's a stack of stickers, like, and then there's going to be a paper bag that is where you'll store the backings from the stickers after they're applied. We don't want to be using other people's carts for putting stuff in. We're just going to contain our own kind of waste from the project. There is a razor blade that can be used for scraping off anything that is on top of the cart lid as we arrive to it. The carts are mostly stored outside and they're exposed to the weather, so the tops are pretty dusty and dirty. So we have developed a system of just like we have like t-shirt rags and a very green cleaner. It's the same cleaner that I use at my house. So we're going to go over kind of adhering the sticker and what that process looks like using the cleaner and the rags. The oops stickers, which are these yellow square stickers. And then there will be a clipboard for a paper backup to collect the data should there be any issues with the app. So once we get out to the curb, sorry, I missed one part on the last slide. So, or actually even before, but we're going to split into teams. So depending on how many folks show up in the morning, right now we think we'll be able to split into 2 teams of 3 most days of the week, but it might be like 1 team of 2, 1 team of 3. So each team is just going to be given a neighborhood, and then you guys can decide amongst yourselves, or maybe one person is the navigator, and you can decide kind of what the actual pattern of where you want to go within that neighborhood is to cover as much of it as possible within that time period. So all I mean is like, we're not dictating like, oh, and then you're going to take a right on this street and then a right on this street. Like that's really going to be left up to you all. And then with 2 people, we're going to have one person do the cleaning and the stickering and one person do the data capture portion. With 3 people, we can have one person do the cleaning, one applying the sticker, and one doing the data capture. We expect naturally with 3 people, it would just move a little bit faster. But I think that for the most part, it'll probably be 2 to 3 minutes-ish. And I mean, I would say once we all have experience, then I think it'll just move faster. And so I'd say 2 to 3 minutes that you're going to be at each set of carts. That's what I foresee. And then, I mean, there's a lot of walking, and we're going to do it early in the morning. So it certainly won't be as hot as it is outside right now. This is a very fair weather project. If it is raining that day, we won't go out. Because we can't adhere the stickers, and that's kind of like our number one goal. And then I would even go to say, if it rained heavily the night before, we're not going to go out because all the carts will be completely covered in water. I don't even think with our t-shirt rags we'd be able to dry it off enough, or we wouldn't have enough rags to do that. So very fair weather project. This is like ideal weather. This morning it was absolutely gorgeous outside. Okay, so applying the stickers. So, I mean, we've all applied stickers to things, but I would say there's just a little bit of nuance, a little bit of finesse to try and do these in a way that is going to have them last as long as possible. So the stickers, as they're coming to us, the adhesive is intended to be permanent and for outdoors. So I've been told by the printer that they're expected to last 3 to 5 years, which is a reasonable amount of time for something being outside and potentially in the sun a very extended amount of time. So if there's any old stickers, there was a campaign, I don't know how many years ago, I want to probably say somewhere about 7 to 10 years ago. There's a campaign by Green Newton to put small decals on top of carts that said like yeses and nos for different materials. They've definitely faded and I would say, flaked off at this point in time now that it's been a very long time since those were adhered. And so those may be the thing that the razor blade is needed to just get under that and scrape it off. I'd say if you're able to capture that as best as possible, it can go in our little trash bag with our sticker backings. Then it's going to just be like spraying down I would spray either the rag or the cart. That's going to just be up to personal preference. But we're going to try and maximize the use of the rag. So using start at a corner and then use the little spot as opposed to using the whole thing, because I think it'll get dirty faster that way. And then only spraying the area or only cleaning the area where the sticker will be applied. We don't need to be cleaning the entire top of the cart, although maybe some residents would appreciate that. So the sticker is big. It's 8 inches by 10 inches. So anybody who's applied anything that it's that large, you don't want to peel off the entire backing because especially with a breeze or anything, it's going to end up sticking to itself and you'll end up with just kind of a sticky mess. So yesterday we had a volunteer just say, oh, you're just going to peel one edge and apply that first, and then have one hand that's smoothing it out while the other hand is pulling the backing. You're going to try to smooth it out as best as possible to prevent bubbles, but there will be certainly scratches, and maybe even the cart itself will be a little warped from the sun. So you may end up with some bubbles. You're going to have that razor blade on you. You can pop the large bubbles with the razor blade and then smooth that down, which will prevent it from kind of popping up more. And then the backing, again, we're going to take with us as opposed to tossing it into the cart that we're at. Okay, so now Erica is going to go over, this is just a kind of idea of what the app will look like, and she's the expert on that, definitely.
So our app is going to look, our questions are going to look a little different. So that's the middle photo that you see there. And I want to preface this by we're going to do a more in detailed orientation of this at the curve together. So if you feel confused by it, don't worry, we're going to do it all over again. So basically you're going to start off wherever you are with the app, which I'm going to get all of your emails, the emails that you would prefer for this, and then you'll have a password and a login, and we'll go over how to do that the day of. So you're going to come up, once you log in, you're going to have this option once you hit the audit tool, and you're going to see a couple of little pins on a map, and those are just the houses that are closest to you with the trash day that you're at. So if they're red, that means you haven't gone to them yet. When they're green, that means you have gone to them. So when you hit submit, it'll turn green. So you're gonna hit one of the red ones. You're gonna make sure that it's the right address. So it'll pop up and say the address and then you're gonna make sure, physically to look at the house and make sure that it matches. For the houses that are more spread apart, that's really easy to do, but when it's more dense, you can sometimes click the wrong button. So then it's gonna pull up, and then you're gonna click it, and it's gonna look like this middle photo with the recycling out, contamination, that sort of thing. And we're gonna go over the questions that are actually gonna be asked in the app, because these are just,
This is just like a sample
Yeah.
from the company for,
but it's really easy. You just toggle or you click a button, and then once you're done with it, you've answered all the questions, you just hit the submit button, and then the pin will turn green, sort of the way you see on the last photo.
yeah. So it'll be a map with pins. You select the pin, enter in the information, hit submit, and then you can go back to your map and keep walking to the next house. It is fairly, like, it's really user friendly once you're in the app. Okay, so the data capture questions that we're asking. So there's a section for trash, and that's first. So it's just, is the cart out, yes or no? What is the volume? This is going to be in like 25% increments. Or if the cart lid is lifted, that would actually be overflow. It's technically over 100%. Cart damage. So it's a yes or no question initially. If yes, it is, you can pick the type of damage. And I mean, there's a couple of carts that are in kind of rough shape. Like you may find a crack in it. You may find that the lid hinge is broken.
Might not have wheels.
It might have a wheel missing or something like that. I mean, generally wheels, we do get a lot of calls about to get wheels fixed because it's just so laborious to move your cart without functioning wheels. But it's possible, like maybe one of the wheels has like the rubber piece that's peeled off from the initial rollout. There were wheels that were plastic with a rubber piece over it. We now have all plastic wheels. But then the damage level, we're going to have you subjectively measure it. So we're saying minor, significant, or egregious. And we tried to give you kind of a tangible vision of that. Like minor is the cart is, it's fine. It's functioning. Maybe there's like a crack that you can, a hairline crack that you can see down the front, but it's not really causing any problems. And, maybe you can tell that it's been there a while. I would say that's minor. Significant is that the cart is still usable, functioning, but it should probably be repaired. So that would be like the wheel, the rubber falling off, or maybe that lid hinge or something along those lines. Egregious is that the cart is in really not functioning shape. Yesterday we had an example cart that had this enormous hole cut out of it. And so, I mean, you can imagine if that had stuff in it, it would be stuff falling out, or I've seen carts with people that have wrapped a bunch of duct tape around them and those types of things. I would say that that's going to be egregious. And then the last question, when you've looked into the trash, and just to reiterate, I feel like this has been, in an email somewhere, but no one's going to be digging through anything. This is literally, you get up to the cart, you lift the lid. What do you see? Close the lid.
No hands in the cart.
Yeah, definitely no hands in the cart. And we can provide gloves even for like lifting the lids. And that's not an issue on our end at all. And then you're just going to answer the question, is there recycling visible in the trash? So that could be, you open it up and you see a cardboard box that's down on the side of the trash bags, or you can see that there's a white trash bag and you can visibly see a aluminum can that is just visible through the bag. We're just making a yes, no documentation of kind of trying to identify how many houses we come across that could do a better job recycling, capturing stuff that's just very obviously recyclable. For our recycling portion, or looking at the recycling cart. So first question, is the cart out? Next is the volume. Cart damage, same as trash. Contamination is a little bit different for recycling. So you're going to answer the question, yes, no, if contamination is visible. And then you would identify the contamination level. So low is less than 10% contaminated. That I would say is, you see maybe one of those white Amazon mailing envelopes that they've put in their recycling. We're not going to take it out. We're not going to kind of do an enforcement measure at this point in time on that, but we just want to document how many carts we're seeing this low level of contamination. So if you see maybe like 1 or 2 items, I would mark that as low. Medium can be a little bit more of a gray area, but I would say it's like I'm seeing a bunch of stuff that shouldn't be here. And, you know, I'm even struggling a little bit to tell if this is trash or recycling. Like that's definitely a, I mean, that would actually probably be on high if you were struggling. I would say that's more than 50% contamination at that point. So medium is more like the gray area between like, well, I'm seeing definitely more than 1 item that shouldn't be here, but I can definitely tell it's recycling and that they're making an effort.
Sometimes it might be multiple items.
Yeah.
So for low, it might only be a plastic bag or like a couple of like items that shouldn't be in there. For medium, it's like you see tissues, you see plastic bags, and maybe you see some black plastic or, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not going to harm anyone. It's not probably not going to be too big of a deal at the facility. But then we'll go on to high.
Yeah. So then high is where you can't tell that it's recycling. It really just kind of looks like a bunch of trash that's in the recycling bin. It could be some other egregious issue, and we have a couple of photo examples coming up for you what egregious issues mean. And I mean, there maybe if you've driven past or walked past a recycling cart that you're just like, whoa, this person, maybe they were trying really hard, but just this is not what should go in here. Again, we have some fun pictures for you in a minute. But also any bagged recyclables. So if people are still putting their recyclables into a plastic bag, if you open it up and say some of it is loose, but you see 1 plastic bag that has recycling in it, or, you know, it could even be trash that's in it, that's going to be an issue of high contamination. And then we also have a drop-down menu for contamination type. You can only pick 1 though, so it's going to be whatever one that you see the most of. I would
You
say
can also always pick one and then write in because there's an option.
Oh, I
for
didn't know that.
writing in. So
Okay.
if it's really bad in multiple, you can always write.
thank you, that's helpful. Okay, then there's one last question, which is just compost, yes or no. So that's if they have a Black Earth bin. We know how many users of that program we have, but we're going to be able to use some of this data to possibly find out if if there's a correlation between kind of having lesser contamination and somebody composting or not. You know, that might be our hypothesis, but we're just trying to gather that information. And it also could be, so Black Earth is the program that the city has done a preferred vendor relationship with, but it could be that they're using another vendor. So that would also be information that we don't have access to. So that could give us more information on how many households do have a curbside collection service. So getting to the yellow oops tag. So I would say the first thing to note is that this will be fairly infrequent that you will use these tags. So this is going to be used when you see an egregious issue. Pictures are the next couple of slides. And actually, why don't we go through that right before we talk through the rest? I'll just come back to this slide. So this is what we mean by egregious issues. Here are some recycling carts that we have done enforcement measures on. So the first one, definitely very vague as far as, is this recycling? Were they making an effort to recycle, or was this just kind of like overflow trash for them? The second picture, you know, that's actually just from the other day. They clearly were doing some gardening and had like a hose reel that is plastic and just a whole overflow situation. We have seen wood in people's recycling carts. And then of course, like this overflow issue on the right-hand side is just completely out of compliance with our city ordinances. And we definitely want to inform the homeowner that the homeowner or the property owner that this is not acceptable and the appropriate way to manage that material. And then these are examples of bagged recycling or even just bags of material found in the recycling. That's definitely going to be kind of this egregious issue. Um, so for those types of issues, so again, those will be fairly infrequent, but they do happen. I know in 2018, I can think of a couple of examples where I saw, a trash cart with light tubes sticking out of it and things that just definitely shouldn't be there. So we apply this yellow sticker. What that does is it indicates to the driver that they should not pick that cart up. And then on the app, you're going to mark it as high contamination. And then there's also a button on there to toggle that says an oops sticker was put out. And that internally in our office will yield a letter that will go to the homeowner. So that's going to be our kind of enforcement aspect of this project. But again, that's not the primary purpose behind it. It's just if we're out at the curb and that's what we're seeing, we need to address it. So if you're unsure about something being egregious, you can connect with Erica, send her a text.
In the beginning, I would actually prefer, before you ever oops anything, to send it to me for like the first maybe even month that you're doing this. Because it's a big deal if we're gonna oops a cart, because
Yeah.
you're not getting recycling pickup. Obviously, as we become more like aware of what we're doing and how to do this, you don't have to contact me every time, but you do have to send me a picture when you do it, so I can share that with the resident and with customer service.
Yeah,
And you'll have my phone number. I will give you all my cell phone number to do that.
definitely. So then you'll fill in the sticker. We'll have like a Sharpie that'll also be in the supplies in the wagon. And you'll apply that to the cart and take a picture and send it to Erica using your phone, if at all possible. All right, so back through our egregious issues. I think I have an extraneous slide in here. Oh, I somehow animated this slide. I didn't know that I did that. Okay, so what we need from you all is for a query form to be filled out. So it's I would say a very commonplace in the public sector background check. And so we have to do it in person, that it has to be filled out and that we can see a photo ID. And we just make a photocopy of that ID. We supply this to our human resources department, and then they actually run the background check. There's a waiver from our legal team that we need you all to sign, and we'll keep that on file here. So that would just be signed when you stop by to fill in the query form. And then any dates that you're not available this summer, we want everyone to enjoy their summer. Just if you can let us know, if you know in advance when you're not going to be available, it just helps us for our planning. But we're really excited for everybody to really enjoy this summer in a way that we weren't able to last year. So I mean, each of us will be taking vacations and having coverage, and we'll try to communicate that to you as well. But that's just for our coordination. Okay, so that is what we have to present. We're excited to hear questions from you, any clarity on things. And I know you already have been in communication with Erica, but here's our information and information on the app. If you don't already have it, I highly recommend. So I'm going to stop sharing for right now so we can all see each other again. And questions, we can pull up slides if we need to, but otherwise we can just talk through things.
I have some.
Okay.
So cancellation notification, will you text us or email? What's the procedure?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say if we know the night before, we'll send an email. If it's kind of like a very early morning decision, we would send a text and try to make it infrequent to do that.
Yeah.
More likely than not, an email the night before.
Okay. Number two, I think you indicated no, but let's say where we see cardboard in the trash, you don't want us to move it? As much as it would kill me for you to say no?
I would say my expectation is not for you to do that. If that's something that you want to do, you see that it's completely easy enough to do. If you choose to do that, I would say it's okay. I would say the biggest thing that we would be concerned with is just safety.
Yeah.
But if it may have even been like, I don't know, a neighbor had come by, but they didn't check the recycling cart, they checked the trash cart. And it's just a simple, like, moving these 2 boxes over or something, it's okay. It really is okay.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to encourage it. And I would
Yeah, I
also
get you.
say then certainly if it's not like readily accessible or easy to do, then we don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
I would say
Right.
cardboard is really the only option, or we see like a water bottle right on top. Like,
Mhm.
we don't want you taking.
We shouldn't be reaching for like that tuna can that you can cut.
Exactly. Please don't do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Great question.
And you know what, I think I had, go ahead. I'll pass for now. I might have something else later.
No problem. So Deborah put one in the chat. Will we carry an explanation letter for homeowners? Yes.
Thank
Sorry, that's going to be in the supplies. We did not include that on the list, but there will be, it's more like a little flyer that just says what the project is about, and it'll have our contact information. I don't expect that there would be kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Irate homeowner.
Confrontation. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't anticipate there to be a confrontation, especially we're only going to be there like 2 or 3 minutes. When we did this in 2018, there were a handful of folks that I think they were more wary than like angry, but they were just very like concerned. And a couple of people came out and they were like, "How did I do?" And it was a great experience to just kind of like offer feedback and say like, just plastic bags are the biggest problem. I'm seeing like one here or something like that. I don't expect it to be a big issue in this program in particular because we're only going to each house one time.
But I don't expect that you will have to really, unless you want to talk about anything, we don't expect that that's something that you're going to have to do. You can always just say, I can even give you like a sentence to tell people, but you can just hand them this piece of paper and say, please reach out to Erica, and then this is the email. If you want more information about this, like I'm just a volunteer, sort of just flow with me. Like,
yeah, you can definitely pass the buck. Like that is all you need to do. Is just say, let me put you in touch with someone. But you guys, I don't expect it to be a big issue. I would say we were very fearful of it in 2018, and it turned out to be so much less of an issue than I thought it would be, and so it was refreshing.
People are really nice. They're just worried that they did something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, did I fail? Or yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, do you have any idea about how many houses we do each day?
So it depends on the density of the neighborhood. And so we were able to, in 3 hours, doing the system that we did in 2018, we were able to do roughly 200 houses. And it depended on the day. I think there was one route that had 300, but it was in a much denser part of town.
But we're doing a little more in this one, like a hearing sticker. So
True.
It might be a
so
little less.
it might be fewer homes because it might take a little bit longer. But I also think we'll get into a rhythm. So I would say that's just been our experience in the past.
Yeah.
But we want this to be pretty easy and fun for you. So we don't expect you to be like running to houses or stressing about how many houses you're hitting. We're just appreciative that you are helping us.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be a leisurely, fun activity.
Yeah. And, it's spending time outside, it's getting a bit of exercise, and it's helping with this project. We hope that's kind of like this win-win-win situation. But yeah, as Erica mentioned, this is not about like hustling and really kind of, I don't know, certainly not like anything near killing yourself to get as much done as possible. If that's your own personal fitness goal, that's a different story. Again, that's completely your choice. Yeah, our goal is to cover the city in, I think we're gonna run this through to like mid-October when it starts getting cold out. And we understand, volunteer availability. We're going to be extremely flexible with you all, and we hope that you can share the same flexibility with us as we learn by doing. But it's a fair amount of time. When we did the project in 2018, we got a really late start just through all sorts of different hoops to jump through. And we started in like late September. And so we went until late November, and it was far too cold. So again, this is a very fair weather project. Certainly in early October, if there's a frost, we're not going to go out. And who knows, if it ends up being a rainy summer, we may not end up getting cover. We may not cover very far, but we're going to get as far as we can get. And we probably pick the project back up next summer to finish the whole city. And to give you perspective, we use the number based on our initial cart rollout of 28,500 households that the city provides curbside service to. So if you take that number, divide it by 5, that's roughly the number of total households that each route day will cover. They vary a little bit, but that's roughly the number. And so yeah, we're looking at like 4 months, and depending on the number of volunteers, we're going to be like constantly recruiting for volunteers. And if you all have friends or family that are interested in participating, we're happy to take them. Yeah, so that's kind of our project.
And then our resident did ask, or a volunteer asked yesterday, if a house has multiple recycling carts, if we're going to sticker all of them. We're going to sticker every recycling cart at every house.
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely. Yeah, for some multifamily properties, it should pull up in the app with like each unit. And I think even when you hit the pin, you can pick from a drop down of like unit 1, 2, or 3. I would say it's going to be more ambiguous when you're looking at 3 sets of carts, which one goes to which unit. We're not going to use this information to be identifying in any way. So that really, it's kind of arbitrary. So I would just pick like, okay, 1 is the first set of carts that I see, 2 is the second set of carts. And I live in a condo complex that has 4 units, and we all kind of use our carts interchangeably. So it's really hard to pinpoint kind of 1 unit anyways.
And if there was a letter that was going to be sent out, I would send it to all of them anyways.
Yeah, that's how we handle our enforcement efforts anyways. Because there's very few cases where you can really tell, and like they're, maybe the building actually labeled their carts or things like that. So yeah, anybody else questions? Otherwise we can wrap up.
Actually, I have a question, not in terms of procedure, more curious. What's the thinking in terms of wondering or recording how filled up the cart is?
Oh, so, okay, the kind of logic or rationale behind that.
Yeah.
So as we're thinking in this bigger picture of the recommendations for options to take our CART program. So to give you some further context or background, the current system was put into place 11 years ago. And so our contract with our hauler is up in 4 years. And so that would be a 15-year window. So we're looking to possibly change the system. And this is completely potential. There's no definitive, this information is going to go to city council and the mayor, and they're the decision makers. But I see this being a very heavy cost burden on the city as years go by. So when this program was initially rolled out, it was the first time that a trash limit was put in place. And so other municipalities have moved to different systems where perhaps they have a smaller cart. So there's towns that have a cart that's half the size of Newton's with weekly collection. It could be that instead of switching out carts, we, again, completely hypothetical, but we could end up moving to a system where trash collection is every other week. but using this same size. And that way we don't have to replace the carts.
And that's where we ask the cart condition, because if we do need all new carts, then that plays into that role of, do we get different size carts, or you know,
Yeah.
it sort of all plays into it.
So what we're trying to determine with the volume is how much space is being unused right now, and kind of how much ability, in theory, would there be for the cart size to be smaller, or for the pickup to be less frequent, because there's costs associated with both of those things. And I would say the same is true for recycling. You know, so a lot of folks have come to me in the past couple of years wanting the city to adopt curbside organics collection. And so it's primarily a cost issue, because we'd be adding another several trucks to cover the entire city. And sorry, I'll get to the questions in the chat in just 1 second. And so if we were to add an entire service, I mean, it's either a cost increase, or we figure out a way to cut or avoid costs in another place. So there's communities on the West Coast that have really moved to a model where they have trash pickup every other week, recycling every other week on the opposite week, and then they have organics pickup every week. And so if you total the number of pickups and collections, that's still 2 trucks stopping at your house every week. So that cost doesn't end up being tremendously higher than our existing service, where there's 2 trucks going to every home each week. So these are the types of, you know, systems level coordination that are kind of all behind the scenes in making those curbside collections work. Okay, so the question from Deborah: what time will we meet in the early morning? So 7 a.m. is when we want to meet at that designated spot. And again, Erica will communicate those out. I think like a couple of school parking lots. The one on the Monday route is going to be the recycling center, because it's our home base. Yeah, a couple of school parking lots are the others. And is it all schools?
It's schools or public buildings.
Okay, yeah, there may be a couple of public buildings in there. So 7 a.m. is just kind of when people are supposed to have their carts out by. And another thing that we didn't mention in this is we're coordinating with Waste Management to try and we need to beat the trucks, basically, is our task at hand. And so they've given us maps of where their routes start and end. So what we're doing is we're starting where they end, and we shouldn't run into too much of a problem where they've already collected. However, I do think eventually that will happen. And I would say in that case, if you get to a street and you see that all the carts have already been emptied, then the primary goal is just to sticker all the recycling carts. And it's okay if we don't get the data capture from those houses. Like it's kind of, the data capture is icing on the cake, but the sticker is really kind of like the #1 objective of the project. Oh, and so that was Grace's question. Sorry, I didn't even see that. If they've already come by and picked up. I would say we are going to pay attention to the app and like all of the green and red pins. And so if there's a red pin on an area that we already covered, it's going to indicate to us that that person didn't have their carts out that day. And what we'll do, especially as like teams get moving more like clockwork, is one of us may take the morning and just go and do those one-off houses to kind of do a little cleanup, maybe every 2 weeks or so, depending on how often that's happening. I mean, it happens when folks go on vacation or if they just forget. And so we'll try and we'll be the ones to kind of circle back to those. Not you guys won't need to worry about it. You'll just keep plowing forward.
Although there are some people who wanted later start times or like a slightly later, and that could be something that we use you for. Those like sort of one-off things, because I know we have a couple of people, so maybe that might be what you're used for. But I do know there are some people who wanted to start maybe a little bit later. We would prefer you could start earlier, but I understand that this is very flexible.
We're flexible. For sure.
So for that, you would either meet up with the team you'd find them on the street wherever they are, or you would have your own section. But we can figure that all out
Yeah.
together.
And actually, that just reminded me of something else. We are completely open to any feedback that you have for kind of improving the system. Certainly, again, we ask for your flexibility, and like if we make tweaks, we want to have this designated area in the morning just because we feel it would be too administratively cumbersome on us to pick a new spot each morning and then communicate it out. So that's why we're trying to have this like checkpoint that's just all like it stays steady and avoids those issues. But if that doesn't pan out, we're flexible in changing that. So we look forward to hearing from you all if you feel something would be easier or more efficient in a different way. We are all ears. And that's the same goes for any of the supplies. We spoke with another town who did a similar project applying the cart decals, and that's where we used a lot of that's where we came up with this system. They said that they started with all of their teams having a wagon, and then by the end of summer, they had just like 3 permanent teams, and they said by the end of summer, 2 of the teams were instead taking like a satchel bag and not using the wagon. But one team really liked the wagon, so they kept it. And so we're able to be flexible with that too. If there's like a different supply, like a satchel bag, we can get that. It's not an issue. So please like speak up. Certainly if you're dissatisfied with some aspect of it that you feel could be easily improved, please let us know.
I have a question. One, I live pretty close to Romsford Recycling. And also I try to drive as little as possible. So I was wondering, one is they're parking there, and 2, can I just walk over and then, carpool with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely the city car will be available to fit 4 people in. Well, I guess fit 3 people because one of us will be driving it. And so, yes, I mean, I want to encourage that as much as possible as well. I would say there's a lot of flexibility in making that work too. Yeah, that's no problem. I mean, we want to aim for that too and not be too cumbersome, but we also don't want to overburden folks with inconvenience. Like if we're insisting on carpooling and they're like, well, I could just leave from the neighborhood if I had my car, we're really open to that. Yeah.
Okay.
When does this start?
We're planning to hit the curb next Monday.
So next week, okay.
Yeah.
And if you know offhand, what are you thinking of meeting on Thursdays?
Erica has her list.
Okay.
Thursday is.
Oh, so it's 150 Jackson Road, the school that's there. It's the Newton Early Childhood Program now.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a big parking lot that we just plan on meeting in the.
And then
in that
Mondays
lot.
are gonna be Rumford, Grace, are you on Monday? Yes, that's gonna be down just at Rumford. We're gonna meet here. And then what other days are you guys? I don't remember.
I was thinking Tuesdays.
Tuesdays are gonna be at Service.
At where?
At Service Elementary.
Oh, okay.
And what about you, Deborah?
I was gonna work on Fridays.
Fridays at Craft Street. Do you know the public building down at Craft Street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the education department.
No.
Oh, so that's on that's on Crafts and Walnut. A little ways down closer to Whole Foods, there's a DPW yard there.
Oh, I know that. Okay.
Yeah, and so there's the parking lot there. In the summers, the guys that work there have off on Fridays, and so that lot will be completely open.
Okay. And if we want to come on a different day, do we just show up?
We'd
We
be
don't need to let you
certainly
know
open
If
to
you
that.
wanted to, no, you do not need to communicate. If you wanted to just to show up, I can send. When I send out the email to everyone, I'll just put all the locations.
Yeah.
for where everyone's gonna be, so that's just.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
We're certainly open to drop-ins.
Yeah.
That,
Again, if
again,
you wanna switch a day, 1 week,
oh, definitely
very
trades,
flexible.
flexing, yeah.
Mhm.
We enjoy flexible schedules, definitely. The early morning, we just can't avoid because otherwise we'd miss all the carts.
Yeah,
So that's,
no.
and I mean, in the summertime, it's definitely the best time to be out anyway. So, yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? Yesterday we had a bunch of folks just asking kind of like their personal recycling questions, and I'm happy to make time for that if you all want to.
I confess that there are always
Oh, I
almost
know.
something that I'm like, does this go in recycling?
Always, absolutely.
I'm
It
sure
happens,
that,
it happens to me, and it's literally like my passion and what I do every day. And I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
so I'm sure there'll be times when I'm looking at a cart and I'm saying, well, are they right or am I right?
That's true. That will come up, definitely.
So what do we do then?
I would say you can reach out to Erica. I would say, or you can, I mean, I would say it will happen at people's carts, but
For the most part, I think the way that we have sort of filtered people out, you're probably some of the better recyclers of the city.
oh, definitely.
So
yeah.
generally, if you're thinking it's not, it probably isn't.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Well, for example, my husband and I frequently talk about pizza boxes.
Oh, pizza boxes. Yeah, that's like like the harvest fair where we set up a table and people have come up and they're like, we almost get divorced over this. Like, is like pizza boxes, what's the deal? And I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry for whoever's wrong here. But so pizza boxes are a yes, they're okay. As long as the box is empty, like you take out the liner paper, any leftover pizza and things like that. The grease is not an issue in the recycling process. I would say historically, it may have caused more problems or the paper recyclers didn't want that, but nowadays it doesn't cause an issue at all.
Great to know. What about aluminum foil?
Yeah, so aluminum foil, it doesn't need to be perfectly clean because it gets melted at like 1400 degrees. The goal is for it to be clean enough that it's not going to contaminate other things. And I would say that's true for any recycling. So yogurt containers and things like that, it doesn't have to be cleaned and washed. It just needs to be so that yogurt isn't going to get splattered onto paper or cardboard that's in the recycling truck.
Compressed.
So for aluminum foil, if you have like a pie plate or, like any of those, I don't know, the roasting pans or something like that, I would say empty it, give it a once over rinse, and just crumple it into a ball. It doesn't have to be tight. As long as it's bigger than 3 inches, it can go in the recycling.
Okay, but like tin foil that's been used to tent, a dish and then rinsed and then crumpled into a ball.
Yep.
It may not be 3 inches. But
So I've heard of folks that just like hang on to it and then add more foil to it. But so I'd say 3-inch diameter, and then Deborah's guilty of that. Or if it's going to be something that's going to smell, the right thing to do is put it in the trash, as much as it may like cause you physical pain. I totally get it.
Okay. Cool.
Anybody else? All right, we hit an hour, so I really appreciate your time today, and Erica will be in touch via email. If you come up with any other questions, we're happy to answer them, and she'll be in touch shortly.
One more thing. If I oversleep and I wake up at 7:30, do I text you?
Yeah, I mean, so Erica, it will definitely be the main point of contact. She has a work cell phone. You can certainly text her, and if you're like, oh, I'm happy to come join, or even just to say like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to make it today. Either way, that's fine. But she'd be able to tell you like where we're at, where the neighborhood is. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
We're going to be flexible, really. Like we're trying to make this as chill a project as possible and as much fun as possible. I mean, it's been stressful on our end, just coordinating all the moving pieces, but we're excited. I feel like we're in good shape. We cut it a little close with the stickers, but I met the deadline that the printer said I needed to if I wanted to start on June 14th. So I should have those stickers in my hand by the end of the week.
Good luck.
If we don't, then
Communicate.
we'll send out an email saying like, we're gonna wait another week to start this. So,
Or at least on Monday.
yeah, exactly. We should know, we'll know by Friday for sure if we're starting on Monday or not. All right, that's all we got.
Okay,
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you very
day.
much.
Very nice to meet
Bye.
you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.